Hey, what's up, buds? Welcome back to another Wake Up Wednesday with Nat. I'm Nat for those of you new here, and we are continuing in our 5-part series about romantic relationships, whether you're married, whether you're in a long-term committed relationship. We're talking all about the challenges of being in a relationship. And even though it can be incredibly challenging, that doesn't mean you should necessarily throw in the towel. Before we get started, just a recap on parts 1, 2, and 3. Part 1, we talked about communication and why that word gets thrown out all of the time, but without really unpacking what it means, or without strategies and tactics on how to improve our communication or just communicate in general, right? You can't improve something that you're not even doing. So communication was part 1 and some tactics for you there. Part 2, we talked about focusing on the positives in a real way. So not pretending that everything's okay and kind of sweeping all of the issues under the rug, but focusing on the positives in the relationship and specifically on your partner in a way that actually makes a difference. And part 3 last week, we talked about forgiveness. That can be a big one. It's probably harder to forgive ourselves than other people, but last week we specifically talked about forgiving our partner, our spouse, our significant other for the ways that they have wronged us, no matter how severe and how hurt we are, but learning to really forgive. Whew, that's a big one. So let's stop there for a second and see how you're feeling from last week with forgiveness. You doing okay? Is it weighing a little heavy on you? That's okay. That's a big topic. And remember, we talked about it's going to take patience, it's going to take effort, it's going to take some time to learn to do that, to choose to do that, and to really start feeling the remarkable effects of forgiving the other person. So today we're talking about part 4, and it's all about prioritizing time for each other. So prioritizing time for your significant other. Before we get there though, I really wanted to do a shout out to Janelle and Doug. Thank you for being my most loyal subscribers and for giving me this really cool Wake Up Wednesday mug. Really cool. It's got my little cactus buds on the other side. Buds, I love you all so much. So thank you. Quick shout out to them. All right. Today we're talking about prioritizing the other person. Got a couple of tactics up my sleeve. I'm going to be very candid in this conversation. I hope you'll join it. I hope you'll love it. Remember, give it a thumbs up if you do, share the video, and if you haven't already, subscribe. All right. So let's get into it. This is incredibly important if you have children. And even if you don't, it's important. If you have children, however, it has a little bit more of a heaviness to it because time is just maybe feeling a little extra tight, right? We're getting the kids to and from school. We're getting them to their activities. We're making sure that they're taken care of as we should, rightfully so. They deserve a lot of our time and attention. And at the same time, so does our significant other. After all, they were here before the kids. I am so blessed and fortunate enough to have friends that are in their 60s and 70s and beyond that have been successfully married for 40 plus years and that have also not been successfully married for 40 plus years. So I've understood being married, maybe 10, 20 years and then ending in divorce when the kids grow up. And one of the things I learned a long time ago before I got married was from a woman. And she said, look, make sure you prioritize your husband or your wife before your kids. And I know that some people are going to say, what? You're crazy. And the kids are naturally going to take up more of our time, more of our attention, right? Especially depending on their age group. Like we're probably doing a lot for them. Like they're probably still cooking, cleaning, feeding them. There's a lot of things that they can't quite do on their own yet. But we get into a mindset where because naturally our focus and attention goes there, that all of a sudden they become more important than ourselves and more important than our significant other. But me and my husband were here first. We had a relationship first. We're the reasons that they exist, in most cases. So bear with me with like whatever little nuances, right? If you're like remarried and have stepchildren and all that, but like bear with me here. But the relationship itself just takes a little bit more work, and it has to be intentional because all of the other stuff is naturally going to come, right? We have to drop off the kids at school. We have to take them to the doctor's appointment, where sometimes our spouse and ourselves, but our spouse takes a back seat because, well, they can make their own doctor's appointments and they can drive themselves places. And worst case, if you're out with the kids, they can provide, they can make dinner, they can figure it out, right? Uber Eats. And so all of these things start to happen. And so whether it's intentionally or not, it's not always malicious, but we get into just the motions of things, and we start losing that attention, care, respect, admiration, love, interest, flirtiness, all of these things for the other person. And so today it's all about just prioritizing that time. So even if it's after the kids go to bed, for example, once they go to bed, pop a bag of popcorn and maybe get out your favorite candy or something, sit on the couch and watch a movie, watch an episode of something. And I know that can be hard with kids. I've fallen asleep through a movie. But just being intentional of hey, we're going to do this today. We're going to snuggle on the couch together. We're going to share some popcorn and we're going to watch a movie, or we're going to catch up on that show that we've been binge watching. It's the intentionality behind what you're doing after the kids go to bed. With or without kids, we also just get stuck in our own projects, our own work, hanging out with our friends, going to the gym, doing all of these other things that we get accustomed to the other person just being around. We start to take advantage. Let's be honest, right? We come home, we go to sleep, we say goodnight, and that's that. And we think that because we're doing grocery store runs or we're cleaning the house together, that is intentional time together, and it's not. So let's talk about date nights next. So the first one was just something in the house. So I guess just one example was doing a little movie night, but just making sure you do it. You can also do, instead of a movie night, you could do just board games. So if that's your thing, my husband and I have fed our son dinner, put him to bed, and then he and I took the time together to open up a bottle of wine, play some music, and then make a little appetizer or a dinner for ourselves, a new recipe, but we cooked it side by side, and we talked and we enjoyed conversation. So he and I had dinner after our son, so we could just have a grown-up dinner and make it special. So there's so many different ways that you can do it that doesn't even require you to leave the house. Again, with or without kids, you could just do that even if you don't have kids. So turn on some music, have a bottle of wine or your favorite drink, and just talk. And this is actually fascinating. I learned this at a comedy show. So men like to work and do something with their hands when they're talking, and they don't necessarily need to be having this deep emotional conversation. You could just be talking about your day, but it's easier for them to do it if you're fishing or if you're hunting or whatever, they talk. So if you guys are making something together, you're doing a recipe together and you're kind of talking, they enjoy that a little bit more. That's just kind of how they're wired and how they're built. So food for thought there. So date nights, maybe outside of the house. Schedule your date nights. Pick a frequency with your significant other. Right now, even if it's shit's down the drain. Yeah, sorry, if you got kids around, I should start prefacing this with get some headphones on for them. But if your relationship is in a shitty place, it's even more important right now to just schedule time together, to at least let everything else go and just enjoy each other. But decide now the frequency. So can you commit to once a month? Some people do weekly. I know we started with weekly and we weren't meeting that goal. And so we had to just reassess and be honest with ourselves. So our goal then dropped down to 2 times a month, and then really it just went down to once a month. And so right now we're doing once a month date nights, and we set it on the calendar. So if it's the second Friday of every month, it's on our calendars. We have a shared calendar, and I just take on the responsibility of making sure we have a sitter and all of those things. But we alternate months, meaning 1 month is my date night. So I pick what we're gonna do, and he does it with me, and the next month he does it. So take turns on your date night. So even if you're doing it every week and that works for you, take turns just picking what it is. Even if it's your thing is to go out and eat, allow each other the flexibility of letting the other person choose the restaurant, and you go, even though you're just I don't really like that place. You're going to go and you're going to find something on the menu, even if it's salad, and you're going to eat it and you're going to enjoy it, because this is the give and take of relationship. So schedule your date nights, even the movie nights on the couch, schedule them on the calendar. So you can have date nights in, you can have date nights out, but just make sure that you're scheduling it on the calendar or it won't happen, you guys, and just be realistic. And you could start out with doing every week. And then if that just doesn't work, just be honest and be you know what, I wish, and this would be lovely, but right now we just can't do every week. So every month, once a month for us. And then we alternate every other month on who's picking what we're doing. All right. So that's date nights. The next tactic in this relationship advice here is really going to be to also schedule sex night. Yep, being real candid here. Schedule sex night. The longer you're in a relationship, and a lot of people, the joke is this: once you get married, like sex goes out the window. I don't think it has anything to do with the M word. I really think it has to do with when you're living together. And again, you fall into like the routine and like the monotony of the day to day. So you could be with somebody for 10 years and never marry them. And you're probably not just like having hot, steamy sex every other day or every other week. Like it's just not happening. I guarantee it. You're getting in, unless you're like intentional about it, right? So married or not, schedule sex time on the calendar, because the longer you're with somebody, it's another one of those things that just kind of ends up taking a back burner, and it's unfortunate, but it's so key. Intimacy is so key. And if you're at a point in your relationship where you're not even like being intimate, schedule time to do something like physical with each other. Like maybe it's just the massage, maybe it's just like laying down and holding each other and like listening to music, but like be intentional about touching each other as you're like building back up, getting to like the sex part. But if you're like, yeah, I'm ready to have sex, I just don't ever have time, schedule it and you'll be amazed. And again, just pick something realistic. Like you're probably not going to have sex every night. Maybe you can go for it. I encourage it. But if it's 2-3 times a week, like put it on the calendar, be intentional about making sure it happens when you said it's going to happen, do a reschedule if you miss one. But that also goes by fast. And being those couples that are like, I haven't had sex in like, has it been 8 months? Like, it's just not healthy. And here's the thing. We started out talking about making your spouse a priority over kids if you have kids. When your kids grow up and they leave you, it leaves you and your spouse. So either you just wasted the last 18 years of your life with this other person, like living in the same house, or you still like have this really good relationship. And now you're like, thank goodness the kids are out. Let's go. What are we going to do? Are we going to buy an RV? Are we buying a boat? Are we moving? Are we going to go live on a houseboat? Like, what do you want to do, babe? Let's go travel. Let's go do whatever. Let's buy a new house, whatever. Now you can like start a new chapter of your lives together, but you're not left with not even knowing the other person. And that has happened to some of my dear friends where they realize kids are grown, they've left, but they've made them all their priority. Now they don't even know the person sitting next to them. And that's really sad, because that's a long time to commit and sort of waste each other's time, even though, you spent it raising the kids. But again, I urge you to think about how you're spending that time. And if it's not joyful for either one of you, what was the point? So I've got a couple of other things to talk about here, but scheduling is going to be the most important that I can tell you at this point. So whether it's you're scheduling date nights and you're scheduling sex, make sure you get it on your calendar and you start committing. And sex at this point, depending on where you are, might just be scheduling some time to maybe walk around the block and hold hands. Like if it's hard for you to walk down the street and hold your significant other's hands now, that's your challenge. That's your homework assignment, y'all, for the next week, is get it scheduled. And if you're not in a situation right now where your relationship is like strong or healthy enough to even think about the intimacy, figure out what else you can do to at least start getting like that touch back. Anything you do is going to take time. So whether your whole goal is to like get super ripped and fit for next summer, whether it's redoing a house, whether it's building new culture at work, whether it's finishing school, whatever it is, whatever you want to invest your time in, it's going to take time. It's going to take energy. It's going to take your attention, focus, determination, and just patience. So you have to decide what's important in your life and what you want to dedicate time to, and then just make some time to do it. I'll leave you all with this. No, I'm not sponsored, but if any of these folks want to sponsor me, holla at your girl Nat. Wake Up Wednesday with Nat. But these were gifts that we received, and they're just good ideas. So it takes like the burden off of like having to be creative or having to like spend mental energy figuring out what you're going to do. This is called Couples Bucket List 101, Fun, Engaging Dating Ideas by Dr. Carol Morgan. Again, not sponsored. This is just something that we found super useful. I'll put the link below if you want it. It's $11.99. You can probably just get it on Amazon, but it has, it's like, here's a number 46, pamper your partner. So manicures and pedicures go a long way. figure out time to pamper each other with massages using oils and lotions. Hey, that's a really good one. And right now you ain't having sex. Do that one. So you could just open it randomly or follow it chronologically, but there are a lot of different ideas here that you can use. There's even fun games that it provides. This is one. We also got this little box of date nights. So fun and creative date night ideas for couples. 48 total ideas. See if you can see that. And it looks like these are really cute. So you can just kind of like shake it up and pick, but they're these like little tiny, I don't know, they'll focus. These little tiny chips and they're double-sided. And so like an example here is play a game one-on-one wiffle ball or basketball. That's fun. Or find an outdoor concert or local play. So it gives you ideas and you all can take turns picking from this, especially when you have your date night scheduled. You know what's going to come up. You can pick from here and just voila, you've got your idea. Then you just got to find out where you're going to do it next. But there's a lot of cool things that are already out there for you to use. So you don't have to like reinvent the wheel or spend a bunch of time like hitting yourself over the head for an idea. The goal is to prioritize time for each other that's intentional. I'm sorry, folding socks and like underwear and like cleaning bathrooms and doing the dishes is not intentional enough. Those are just like day-to-day activities. So be intentional, be fun. I guarantee you'll start like feeling all bubbly and flirty with your significant other. It's hard not to when you're like having fun. It actually our brain opens up a lot more and we're more in a relaxed state when we're having fun. And so you'll be surprised. It'll take the edge off. It'll, at least for the time being, allow you to forget about some of the bigger issues that we're still going to work through. All right. Well, I will see you next time. I love you. I see you. I believe in you. Just remember always that whatever you're going through, it will pass. This too shall pass. And tomorrow is a new day. So I love you and I will see you all next week and have a great week. All right. Bye.